Sakojita panga nyumba Fakamo mada panga banja Bali bonse ni my pressure Don't ever be a letdown Mwamuna samadila Koma mutima ulia Chibaba Bizaka siraliti Chifuko pese kwena Bakumbo kuniuta Mwamuna samadila Koma mutima ulia Chibaba Bizaka siraliti Chifuko pese kwena Bakumbo kuniuza Mwamuna samadila Oh They simply told him you're the man now, you got to make a plan now. Mwamuna samadila, Mwamuna funika ndalama, becoming everyone's provider. Your happiness is not an option, duty is your function now. Mwamuna samadila, mumutima muli built anger. I take a substance to be some standard. I wish I really knew what a real man is. But I'll be praising God cause I'm still standing. Yeah, Chibaba Bizaka sidaliti Chifuko pose kwena Bakumbo kuniuza Mwamuna samadila Oh, Chibaba Bizaka sidaliti Chifuko pose kwena Bakumbo kuniuza Mwamuna samadila Witnessing the rise of a kingdom. Let every chain be broken. This is the return of a prince. Glory to the crown of a king. You're witnessing the rise of a kingdom. Let every chain be broken. Lila boy, Lila boy, Lila boy. Be broken, Lila boy, Lila boy, Lila boy. Let every chain, but the dia be some dala. Beti kalicha vevana, manjeva funika kuziva. Mwamuna manila.
Trending Friday.
Hey. Can you hear me?
I muted my mic. Hey, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, how's about we're experiencing technical problems here?
I muted myself when I was listening to the jam.
Okay. How's everything going?
Man, you are always on a holiday. Every time you're on a holiday, you are seeing the whole country.
No. Sometimes it just looks like I'm on a holiday. I'm just so low key. Then I post pictures from 6 months back. Then people think I'm on holiday. Nah, I'm just kidding. Sometimes it happens. How's it going, guys?
No, it's going on good. We were jamming to your song, and I don't know, but I am so pumped. I'm so excited because I'll tell you, I've got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, yes, we do. We
Pastor
do have a
Chris,
lot of
welcome.
things to talk about.
All the way from Chipata.
Thank you.
Pastor Chris, welcome.
Thank you so very much, Coach. How are you doing?
Good. We gotta pray for the internet tonight.
We just have to.
Tonight,
We
Ebo,
have
how
we
are
to.
you
gotta
doing?
pray for the
I'm great. How
internet.
you doing, man? Again?
I'm doing fine, and I was forced
Fantastic.
today to just go through your song, and uh,
Okay.
I, yeah, Mwamuna side,
Samalila.
Mwamuna Samalila.
Sama Lila.
uh,
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
so everyone that is joining in, welcome everyone that is joining in. Let me say something to you. This is one of a kind of a conversation. Eric, good to have you all. Good to have you coming in. Thank you for joining in. The one and only the African Jokers in the house. You post some of the most hilarious stuff that just cracked down. It's good to have you here. And everyone that is joining in, please type there your comment, where you're joining in, what city, what country you guys are coming in from. So we want you to engage. You want you to be part of this. For our women, tag your men, tag your future boyfriends, your future husbands, your potentials. Everybody you need
Yeah,
to tag. Make
yeah,
sure you go
yeah.
ahead and just
including
tag them in and
Coach,
bring them,
including Coach.
including me. Tag me in.
Please.
But if
It's
you
a
got
must.
eyes on me, if you got eyes on me, you will hear the weight of what it's like to be with me. So
Wow.
uh, everyone, please tag in, share. Let's make wisdom sexy, because this is gonna be powerful. I want you to share and invite in as many people as possible. We're waiting for 2 more people, but we're gonna get started because it's gonna be a long conversation. I want to see the numbers go
Yeah.
up. Share in all those groups. Share on your WhatsApp groups, on all the platforms you can share. Make sure you share and tag people. But before I get started, I want to see your names. I can see Joseph, I see Eric, and we have over 20 people here. Come on, put your name here. Tell us what city, what country you are joining in from. We want to know what city and what country you're
Yeah.
joining in from. Yeah, so please do us a favor. Um, share. So we're gonna get started, and I want you guys to. I still want to see your comments. At least ask questions. The women are welcome to ask their questions. So feel free to ask the questions. So today we're talking about he emotions. Mwamuna Samalila. A man does not cry. There's a story behind this song and behind this conversation. By the way, today is International Men's Day, and that's why we thought of coming out here and having this conversation.
Yeah.
International Men's Day. So
Okay.
today we are focusing on the men. We are just talking to the men. So Abel, what's the story, Mwamuna Samalila? Tell us, share with us.
Yeah. I mean, that's to begin. I mean, a happy International Men's Day. Like you and I said in the morning, we're so neglected, we even
Yes,
neglect ourselves.
that
you,
was
What
supposed
you,
to
a
be.
way.
you won't you won't
Neglected.
see you you won't see any post that no help, make a man feel appreciated, send him gift cards. There's nothing. There's no banners. No text
So at this
from your
point,
mobile
Mwamuna
company. You know what
Funikari.
I'm saying? And like back to work.
But it's ve-
Yeah. So anyway,
it's very sad, because I think when we spoke in the
yeah,
morning, you mentioned that, and I really love that our women have so much neglected us that we've even just forgotten about ourselves and just neglected ourselves,
yeah, we neglect
because
ourselves. It's
yeah, we are in the struggle, like we are freedom fighters, or we are food fighters and
exactly,
providing and all of those things. So tell us the
exactly.
story, sir.
Yeah. Well, the song Mamuna Samalira came. Came to me last year. Me and one of my late friends, brother and I were having a chat. We were talking about his life. We were talking about because he's a very good friend of mine who had taken his life, and we're just having a discussion, and it was more like a discussion for me. It felt like a lot of closure because I felt like so many times I wish there were some things I could have done to be there for him. And over the years, I've always enjoyed just having real, honest conversations with men, which I unfortunately some many times I wouldn't find in a setting that is church. Of course, once a year you have a men's conference, and once in a while you get a good speaker who's raw enough to hit you right at the heart. But the man walk is an everyday walk, so it would rarely happen to get those discussions. And so over the years, I can guess I just started taking a lot of interest in that and incorporating also that story. And part of what also made me, when I had gone through depression and had considered almost committing suicide, so it was at that moment after that lunch when the melody started coming into my head, and the chorus Mwamuna somebody that started to come, and I I remember that I wanted to write the song, but then I was like, what kind of story would I tell? And the story, what was amazing about it is that it showed me from the time, like visions of the time growing up for every guy, growing up, falling, learning to be tough from the time you're young, and the demands of life and the demand to deliver. And so that was basically the song. But I also felt like there needed to be a triumphant ending, because when you go through the emotions of that song, you realize, you know, that deep down inside there's a brokenness, and that's why at the climax of the song I am singing, "This is the return of a prince." So reminding us at the end of the day that we're still a child of the King. That even as much as society demands of it, that you always show up and be a man, that you're still a child to God, and you're still under His care, and He still wants to look after you. And in the background, I'm saying, "Lila, Lila, boy," like it's basically an opportunity to be able to release much of that. And so it's been a great journey in what that song has done, because I think it's done more than I've actually gotten the chance to see. Because oftentimes, I remember one time my accountant was telling me a story about how, sorry, I'm outside. My accountant was telling me a story about how one time he says he parked by a Puma station, and there was a guy in the car next to him. He was playing Mamuna Samalila. It's almost like he didn't want to move. And then you could hear like he was talking. He calls his woman on the phone, and he's like, and you could hear like because it was like a loudspeaker in his car, and he was saying, she answers hello, and he's like, he goes, I just want to ask you one question. He says, why have you never said thank you? And she starts shouting, hey, you think you can what? Other is like, no, 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 no. But why have you just never said thank you? And they got into this argument. As soon as he hung up the phone, he just started crying. And my friend goes to the car. He's like, my brother, you're right. And he just said, no, it's okay. And he drove off. And he says, man, you don't know what this song has done. And one of the things I've learned with my music, especially songs like that, is those are songs people listen to in private. Those are songs that really, really touch people when they're alone. And I'm just glad that God gave me the gift and the ability to be able to interpret it, and to be able to share it with the rest of the world. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I had a part where you spoke
Mhm.
about suicide. Did you go through that season?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I did. It's part of why I even went into a lot of philanthropy and working with orphans and working with kids. I mean, for me, it's a long story. Much of it, I don't think I could share much of it, but I did attempt it, and it was about 5 few years ago. And people, you know, and that's the one of the that's why I'm always open to listen to men when they're talking, because it was most people think that when you're famous or when you're well or at a place, like things like that wouldn't hit you, but they do. With us men, it's what we allow into our lives. That's why uh, I remember one pastor said to me, loyalty for a man is protection of his weakness. And often the people that are protectors of our, who could protect our weakness, are the people that we allow closest to us. And also the people that are able to hurt us the most, also the people that are closest to us. So because we have this just get back to work mentality as men, we don't have anywhere to express, because we feel that if I share any further this pain, it'll be more people knowing of my weakness, and then again maybe someone might exploit it, and so you just get back to work and you keep going. And that's the thing that I keep seeing with people, is that we have that get back to work mentality. And I honestly would be back on stage in front of thousands of people and still sing, with the get back to work mentality. Until I felt like it was a time like to really, really take a break. And I found a lot of joy away from conventional, I'd say conventional ministry for myself. And so I felt like I just wanted to be in a space that wasn't demanding me to be something else, but rather that at the same time I knew God was calling me to be able to do, but was not, in a cycle, of the demand. So, and it's helped me, and it's helped me with also helping to find a way to help others. And I think I guess it's been really good for my, if you say, my mental health as well. Yeah.
Wow. We're going to go back because I think there's a lot of stuff to unpack. You mentioned church, the role of church. I personally kind of feel
Hmm.
like the Zambian church is not even positioned and ready to be able to handle the needs and the challenges of men, unfortunately. So, and because I've had personal battles, and practically it's even difficult just to go out and talk to people, without being afraid, to without looking back, what will they say with the information I'm trying to give them? Because sometimes,
No,
unfortunately,
yeah.
people want to hear your issues so they can go and share with other people and
Yeah.
and broadcast your issues. So yeah, Pastor Chris, what's your take on today's conversation?
I
Pastor
think he's
Chris is
muted.
muted, Coach Steady.
I think
He's muted.
okay. Oh, but there are two Pastor Chris's
Yes.
here, so I need to be very
Yeah. So the
All
other
right.
one is Chris
Pastor.
Well. So he will do well if we call him Chris Well, and the other one is Chris Greatness.
Okay, all right.
Will do well if we remain with that.
Okay,
I was trying to say,
okay, great.
from hearing from Ebo, I didn't come like this. I came very expectant talking about these things, but hearing him talking, there is an emotional aspect, which when you are hearing it, it is contrary actually to what we are saying, Mwamuna sama Lila, but you feel like you want to shed some tears somehow.
Yeah, yeah,
with the
Yeah.
story behind. You feel very
Uh,
emotional, and the only thing that you are holding on is, let me not drop a tear. For women, I think they would have gone on and say, is that so? Wow. You could see some of the tears coming out, but we thank God that did not come out. I felt very very emotional, and it was like reminding me of where I am coming from. It was like a punch in the past, and they say, where are you coming from as a man, and who are you today? First of all, I want to say thank you so very much for. I want to be very contrary to my coach. I want to say thank you so far for what the church has done. It has helped us, but not the way it's supposed to help us. If we are all here talking
Yeah.
about Christianity, it is because of the church foundation that has been there. That simply means they have done something, but they have not done what is supposed to be done to the point of transforming almost everyone. But we have the seeds probably that have been used so that we can carry out the message of how we have been transformed so far by the gospel at this point in time where we are. So, having said
Mhm.
that, the talk of Abel was a punch. I also had to look back into my past life. Unfortunately, my growing up was a mixed up. I come from a dysfunctional family, and as a
Mhm.
result of that, initially before that, I was a mother kind of a baby, and you know what that means. It simply means that you are a kind of a person that do not look at hard work as a way of life, because mama will always call somebody to do something for you. Mama will always protect you. Mama will always, she would not want hard things to be slapped on you. So you are growing up with that kind of mama kind of mentality, and yet you are a man. And mama loves you so much. Mama cares for you so much. But you forget that you are a man. And a man really approaches things in a different way. He has to face certain kind of life. Unfortunately, because of the dysfunction of family, it caused us to mature earlier before our time. That simply means that you have to grow as a young man, taking care of your siblings, taking care of the young ones, and that propelled a sense of maturity in you, where you now begin to know that life is full of taking responsibility. And then you start now taking responsibility of your own life. And then you have to make a choice also. Should I continue to develop my talent, or should I continue to develop my career? Should I develop my skill, or should I develop the gifting that I have? So you begin to struggle with that kind of decision in your own life, and then eventually you make a decision to say, okay, let me develop a career and let me also answer the call. But unfortunately, at that particular time, also, here is another problem that we are faced, because the church did not do us good. The only way that you can respond to the call is to what we called full-time ministry. As long as you can preach, and as long as you can share the word of God, and you go into ministry,
Mhm.
and you now realize that preaching alone is not what is going to take you further in your own life. You need something that is going to help you to at least ensure that when you finish preaching, you become relevant on Monday, you become relevant on Tuesday. But you realize that you are too useless on Monday, you are too useless on Tuesday, you are just useful on Sunday. And that became a serious challenge, where if there is nowhere to preach, you create a sense of job by calling it evangelism in the street from day to day. And then you also add another one, 2 hours of prayer. Then you begin to say, I'm in full-time ministry. I think those are the things that really made us. And then there is the issue also, family comes in. And now you are dealing with something. Here is a woman who is coming in your own life. Women, the only thing that women look for, they are looking for somebody who is, number one, open, number two is sincere, and number two is transparency. And now you are coming with a backlog of things that are not okay. And now you are saying, if I offload these things, as a man, I don't have to look weak. I need to appear strong. So I
Mhm.
can share my weakness with other men, but not with my wife, because I want to appear strong to my wife. I want to appear a great man, a big man, but I have issues that are eating me up. I have issues that are destroying, and I don't want to open them up. Honest is lacking. Transparency is
Mhm.
lacking. This is where now you begin to hear some women will begin to say, Coach, you want to say something?
I was clapping and I was happy that you said that, because I'll tell you the truth. I think I am practically the only one who's not married on the panel today. So the rest of you are married. but I am happy. I clapped like this because I am so happy you shared that, because one of my biggest challenges personally as well is I it's difficult to be vulnerable when you meet a woman. It's very difficult, so and most of the time is because they can't handle the weight of what you want to share with them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I hear you, Sanderson, your take, and then Pastor Chriswell.
Yeah, I think this is a really important conversation. Thanks for sharing, Ebo, and just everybody's contributions. I think, yeah, like what has been said, there's a lot that perception that society puts when you talk about a man, and I think I've had some conversations like this past few days. It's crazy. This morning, a couple walked in my office, and we got talking, and we're talking about things like this, and and then one of the things that I've been really looking at that has been a huge contributing factor is just the fear of men. I mean, our society has taught us to not be vulnerable. And it's something I think that we do need to be able to look at, critical in terms of just how we relate one with the other. When like what you're saying, to just be vulnerable to somebody, it's not something that we're taught growing up. And unfortunately, we grow up with certain tendencies that work against us. So many men, and when I say many, and you guys know, dealing with a lot of stuff. The world seems to have this effect where we'll talk about women and swing the pendulum way to the women's side and neglect the men, or we'll swing to the men and then neglect the women. But there's a lot of mental, a lot of emotional, a lot of issues that men are facing. And again, that we're wired to not really be vulnerable, even vulnerability to other men. We find it sometimes very difficult. And I think such conversations are very, very important. And one of the things that I really love is the authenticity. We're so afraid. We need to be delivered from the fear of people, from the fear of men. I think that is a stronghold that oftentimes we don't realize. If I'm open, if I'm vulnerable, what will they say? They will judge me, and I'll be walking, and it happens. Try and do something silly, try and do something wrong. Before you know it, before you wake up, I mean, we seem to be a nation, I don't know about other nations, that celebrate downfalls, that celebrate bad news, that celebrate, oh, Ebo did this, oh wow. Before you wake up, it's all over on social media. It's been turned, it's been changed, it's been edited, it's been rewired, and you're like, oh, what are they really talking about me? And but how do we navigate through such an environment? Because to be honest, it is easy to appear like you've got it all together, and that's something for me that I refuse to do. If I hurt, I want to be able to open up and be able to say, look, I'm hurting. But I've been, and as you probably have, when you are vulnerable, it's really worked against us. So it's like when you are vulnerable, somebody's making a recording. One of these fun days, I'm going to pull up that weapon of mass destruction that you've been hiding. You're smiling and you think you got it all together. Wait, I'm going to show you that you don't. And we know it's happened to us. And then it hurts because, look, I was vulnerable. Now I'm afraid. I'm going to shut myself up. I'm just going to die inside. I don't want to go through the embarrassment that I went through. But we've got to be able to look at how do we break through those walls, guys. And I think for me, this conversation is critical. I mean, all of us. I mean, today is toilet day. Yeah, I was surprised.
Why did they have to put it on a day? I was waiting for Pastor Chriswell to say that. Pastor Chris, bro.
So,
Of all
Santos,
days,
I'm gonna
can you
cut you short.
imagine?
Pastor
Of all
Chris.
days.
so, so funny thing.
Yes, it
I saw a poster on Facebook of, you gotta hug your toilets today. Don't just hug it on New Year when you're vomiting and throwing up because you had too much to drink. But I mean, when you think about it, today's toilet day. I mean, everybody of us go through that same process. I
So
was
why do they have
addressing a
to
couple
do
of
that
late.
on a day like International Men's Day? I kind of feel
I
like
don't
it's
know,
very
man.
disrespectful.
Yeah, I don't know who
How?
set it up, bro. I don't know
The
if it
only
was
day we
high
get.
or what or whatever, but it's what it is.
you know
But
who did it.
what are you saying, is the ladies?
you know you know who did it.
But yeah, but I think this is a really great conversation that I think men need to be able to have. Look, I was telling someone, no, they were saying the same thing, and I hear this a lot of times. I can't be open to people, because I can't be open to so and so because they're gonna use that against me. But I say you need to be able to become a safe person yourself. It starts with me. Being a safe person. So I think, again, like Steady, I always say, you bring such great stuff, man. And I would really love to see us being able to go beyond beyond the screen, to actually be able to see how we're able to help men. Because, man, I'll tell you, we all have to go to the toilet. Whether you smell good, you got Gucci or whatever you got, you got to deal with some stuff in that room.
That's
So,
right.
meaning everybody of us has to deal with stuff. Okay, I'm being nice. I'm not trying to use the actual word for what they're called, but every one of us goes through that. So we need to be able to drop those walls, okay, those covers, those limitations, those. So I think I'm excited about this.
Awesome. That's great. So this is just a conversation. So whenever you want to jump in, make sure you jump in. Pastor Chris was supposed to jump in and come in, and I think he's dropped off. Maybe it's because let me see. I think it's internet issues. I guess he just dropped off. But here's one thing that I'm gonna say, maybe when it's someone's turn to speak, let's just mute the microphone so that there's no feedback. So we can just mute the mic, and then put it on. So I think there's a line in Abel's song that says a man's happiness is not an option. So I think there's a line: a man's happiness is not an option. Does that mean that
Yeah.
our fate? Does that mean that's our fate as men?
Your happiness is not an option, but duty
Yeah.
is your function.
So break it down.
Yeah. So there's always this thing about your desire to be happy. You have to seek happiness. I remember one time an uncle of mine who basically just told me to my face, he says, this being a husband and a father is the most unappreciative job. And he said, no one will come and thank you until maybe you're gone. And you see, if in a situation, even in today's society, if a woman ups and leaves a situation, maybe a toxic relationship, a verbal abuse, anything, people will applaud and say, wow, she left and then she says she shows happiness. You don't have that option as a man, especially because the fact that you are seen as the main one to be responsible over the whole family. So many times I've seen you, and especially also Pastor Walter, talk about toxic relationships. What does a man do in that place? Because you have to understand we are the highest in terms of suicide, meaning there is a breaking point and you're dealing with this stuff mentally, and it's weighing up the stress, and then you just choose the best way is rather than leave, I would rather die. And so this is where it's like happiness is not a choice. It's like you're choose at every turn. You have to, as a man, your duty is responsibility. You have a responsibility to your kids. You have responsibility to your wife. You have responsibility to provide, and it's because you are defined by what you are able to bring to the table. Um, no one really cares whether you're good looking or what. This and the question is, it's always going to come down to, but what do you do? What can you be able to do? Today, I had a great conversation with a friend of mine who was saying he's in a relationship and he's saying, listen, the woman I'm dating, and we're only dating, is saying I'm not meeting her needs. She wants to do her hair. She's in school. She's in what? And she's saying she's got too many pressures and I'm not paying for them. And he's saying, but every single time I meet her, I'm probably spending like 400, 500 what? And I remember telling him this. I said, the problem is, I said, as men, is that when you're in that situation, I said, is she providing your peace or are you providing the scenario where she can be peaceful? I said, ask yourself this. Sometimes you take someone, imagine, for instance, you take someone to dinner, you get them the dress, you don't know what, and then you can come and say, wow, they're a really nice person, right? But you haven't seen them in a setting where where they have the upper hand. And the problem is that when you find that by the time men realize that they're in a situation where this person has the upper hand and they're not really as good of a person, it's already too late. Because you are being told, even in the first verse, I say, pezako tito panga nyumba, like find a house.
That's really powerful.
Yeah.
That's really powerful.
Because
yeah.
Because you're
That's
bringing
really
her,
powerful.
you are creating you're creating the comfort zone. So and the hardest thing for you, I don't know whose mic isn't muted, but like for example yourself, the hardest thing for you right now is that you are single, but you are stable. And you know how hard that is gonna be for you, because it is anyone you are bringing into your life, it will come, humbling themselves because you are the one who you're secure and you're providing security. But then the problem is there's gonna be one day that the problem is by the time you realize when you have that one day when either they have the upper hand, a lot of divorces that you're finding nowadays, or
They're going deep right there, bro.
Man,
a lot of
you just zoomed on me like,
you know what I'm saying? And I told
sorry.
what I told. I'm sorry I'm talking so much, but I told the gentleman I was with today. I said, listen, I said, it's you have more money than her, and so you're only thinking that you're seeing the best out of her, but you're creating the environment for her to be nice to you. I said, but ask a guy who she sees who's doing the exact same thing she is in life, also in school. How does she treat guys on that level? And then you realize her character is she's not really a good person, but she's good for people who are able to do something for her. So I said that is where you find this is your happiness is not an option. By the time you realize, people say, yeah, but you took her in. She's your responsibility. You're supposed to look after what. But then you're like, but guys, I can't sleep. I'm having sleepless nights. This person, insults my mother, And the thing is, with us men, here's one key thing. With us men is that if Pastor Steady, if you said anything to me that is insulting, I'll think about, where are you? Let me come find you. We know the reaction.
Yeah.
But if a woman insults you in your home, to your face, anything that is very stinging, you can't come and tell us. You can't. You have to keep that and find a way to internalize that pain, and then wake up the next day for work. And that's what I mean by your happiness is not an option, your duty is a function. That's we can go on for a long time, but there's so many people with wisdom here that I think we'll,
Man, you
we'll
just
add
came
some
like
more.
women. You say you came
Yeah.
for my edges. Man, Pastor
Thank you.
Chris,
Yeah.
Pastor Chris, will it's your turn, sir. Man,
Yeah, I apologize. I think I've been having technical challenges where I am, so I keep coming on and off and on and off. So I just lost connection for a while, and I was struggling to come back. But thank you, and it's good to be in this show, Coach Steady, Ebo, Pastor Chris Greatness, Anderson. It's been a while, gentlemen.
yeah,
On this great day, in the International Men's Day, unfortunately, as we said, Coach Steady, International Toilet Day, I'm still struggling to find out why they put these
I
days
know.
on the. I mean, this, I've been having conversations with different people and some women today, and reminding them today that do you know that today is International Men's Day? And half of them have no clue, absolutely no clue. They are surprised. Oh, I didn't know. I need to call him and just wish him a happy International Men's Day. But you guys know, you know what goes on when it's International Women's Day. It's everywhere. The shopping malls and you find cards and all manner of things.
Conferences.
And if exactly conferences, and if nothing is done, then you have to, atone for your sins.
I
Yeah,
know.
but I think for me, my take on this issue, and by the way, great song, my brother Ebo. I literally remember the first time I heard that song and where I was. I remember everything. I it kind of made me stop, and thank God I was not on a highway. I was in a compound, so I wasn't driving very fast. But listening to your song, it really took me very, very far. You may wish to know that for a couple of years, I ran with a group, a class for men. We used to call it the Men of Courage. After you remember the film, there was a film called Courageous, and we ran a
Yes.
class called Men of Courage. We developed just our own curriculum for men, and would meet every week, once a week, for 12 solid weeks. It was a great class. I'd have different people from different walks of life, and the idea of the class was not just to pump the men with knowledge, but the idea was to create an environment where as men we are comfortable with one another, regardless of where you're coming from in life, where you're comfortable and you talk to each other. And the classes were designed to last an hour every Friday for an hour. But believe you me, there was never a Friday we finished the class in an hour. It was always 2 to 3 hours. And specifically, certain topics were very exciting to the men. And for me, that just gave me an insight into the soul of a man, that we look for an environment where we can be comfortable with one another and be able to share. So, being a man for me is a blessing in the sense that as far as my family is concerned, God has given me that responsibility and the privilege to lead it. But man, the weight that comes with doing that is unbelievable. Um, and and like my brother Pastor Chris said, you want to be strong and not shed a tear. But there are times where you come to a place and you say, you look at a man and you look at the burden that he's carrying, you look at the weight on his shoulder, and then you realize this guy has no one else to turn to, and he's been carrying this by himself. You have to deal with that. You have to deal with the responsibilities, but you also have to deal with the stereotypes. Like Ebo put it in his song, Mwamuna samalira nangugo wakozati nyamuka chabe sufunika kulira. So you have to deal with all these stereotypes around you. People don't expect you to break down. It's worse for my friend, Pastor Chris and myself, you know, sir, there are times things are not okay in your personal life, and at home also, you need the United Nations to come and declare a ceasefire. But on a Sunday, people still expect you to go and stand in front and still minister like you fell from heaven that very morning. You know, it's very difficult. It's very, very, very difficult. And when you do certain things, people just say, "Mwamuna mwamene baliri so chabe." If something happens, is that what you were thinking would happen? "Mwamuna bali so chabe." That's what you should expect. And so you have to deal with all these stereotypes. It's a privilege. It's a blessing. But at the same time, I feel that men have been sometimes underappreciated. Number one, two, stereotyped extremely, and number three, we are needed, but sometimes not recognized in the place where we are. I'll give an example of something I read a while ago, somewhere on the internet, where the pastor said, walk up to somebody and say, "How are you? You know, how's been your week?" And people went to everyone except the pastor himself. Nobody walked up to the pastor to go and ask him, "How are you? How are you doing?" And that's how it is. When you go home, when you go home in the evening, everybody else will tell you about their day, and they will tell you about their needs. But very few people will take time to say, you know, apart from your wife, and on a good day, to ask and say, "How was your day? Is there anything you need?"
On a good
You
day,
know,
I wonder how many good days there are, bro.
yeah, I'm also, it's tough, you know. It's a rough day. It's a rough world, man. It's a rough world. Very few will ask you and say, "How was your day? What is it that you need?" And even when you're
Yeah.
stepping out, what is it that you need? What is it that you need even in your life? It's very rare that such things happen. To make matters worse, brethren, let me sound very spiritual when I say brethren. We have seen the recent past. We have seen in the recent past, a lot of effort, a lot of programs, a lot of emphasis being put in the development of girls growing into women. There's a lot of empowerment. I was just looking at an application today for a certain government program, and they categorically said, please note that the youths, the women, and other categories of people are advised to apply for this. Great. But have people realized that in the recent past, we've had more men out of employment than men? I talk to men, and I've seen a lot of men who are not in employment right now. And as long as we don't realize to say the pendulum has gone so far on the other side, we will end up with a society which has men who are disempowered and women who are empowered. And because of the way God has created us as men, the desire to provide, to protect, to love, and everything, and when we are unable to do that, we end up with a lot of men who are depressed and having mental issues. So I think the issues that have to do with men have to be brought to the fore. For me, I think today we may not even have enough time, Coach Steady, to unpack this topic to do with men. I think we may need a second part.
I agree with you 100%. I 100%. I totally agree with you. And to be very honest, I think, I can't even catch up right now because I'm trying to give everyone an opportunity to speak whilst I'm still, digesting what Pastor Chris Greatness said, what Abel said, what Sanderson said, and then Pastor Chris will say. So it's like all these missiles are coming at the same time. I'm trying to recover from one, and there's another punch that is really coming.
But coach, you can do something, because when Abel was talking, I don't know whether you were dancing to the song or you were dancing to the message that was coming. I saw you just standing up.
I mean, he zoomed in on me like I was weak. Like it was Papa zooming on me. Like he was like Papa
You're
zooming
going
in.
deeper, deeper.
Like he came for me. Like
He went deepest.
like he didn't have to say, "Can I go deeper?" He didn't have to say.
He
I
just
was
went
already
into the deep.
screaming. I said, "Papa, I am here. I am the one."
What is it that punched you? What is it that brought Coach Steady out? I want to see that. I want to hear that.
Ah, man, you are in the spirit. I think that's a great question, Pastor Greatness. Like your name is. I'll tell you one of my biggest struggle, and I'm gonna be very honest. And it's not easy because one of the things I've come to realize that every time you're honest in this country is that people will use it against you. But the past months I've even gotten to a place where I'm telling myself maybe I don't need to marry from this country. It's been very hard for me because it's like everybody that comes in my space, they have a script. And they know where to get in. They know the words to say. Maybe someone's microphone, we mute the mic. Yeah, it's like everybody knows me. My name is known out there, so I kind of felt like I've been talking to God, and this is the first time I'm saying it publicly, because I mean it's been a lot of battles privately just to say, God, you know what, I don't like how I am seen. It's like every woman I meet in my space comes with a script, and it's not who they really are. They just have read enough about Steady that they know what words and what weapons to really throw at me. They know what to say. They know what not to say. So I kind of feel like I'm a target in my own country and then the sad thing in our country is that we have prepared so much our women for marriage that they are willing to lie their ways into marriage without regarding the consequences of doing something like that. Because the moment you have to lie your way to get married to Steady is you don't realize that the consequences of that marriage and the weight of that ugly marriage will still fall on you. But people don't even care. Most women don't even care. As long as I have gotten married, as long as I am in this marriage, then it does. At that point, I don't care how it looks like. I am willing to go in and get married to this guy who looks like a nice, eligible bachelor, and he's a good guy. He's settled. He's got his stuff together. So I kind of feel like I'm a target. So I've been saying to God, I want to go maybe to a place where nobody knows me. So when Abel came for me, like he's been dropping on my conversations with God, like Abel was just like doing like this every time, because I haven't shared any of these things with anybody. But Abel described what I am going through right now in this season of my life. I've been saying, God, take me to a place where nobody knows me. Maybe I can find a woman I can be naked and not ashamed. I can find a woman where I can just be me without trying to pretend, without trying to be this person that I am in this space, because practically almost everybody knows I'm single and they know what I write. So some people are willing to write something about that. So when Abel say that, it's like the private conversations I've had with God is what Abel practically said. This is why I couldn't sit on this chair. Because I'll tell you the truth, it's difficult, it's tough. Every time I come from blessing thousands of people, I come back to my house, and I want to cry. I am tired, I just want to talk to a friend. I don't want to be coach nobody. I just want to be that.
Yeah.
But if you marry someone who you have to ask for, if you marry someone who, like, every night I come back home, I have to perform. I have to be this mighty coach. Like, I have to be quoting quotes in my bedroom. I'm tired. I don't want,
Coach,
I just
please say that again, that when you come back, you just want to be steady. You don't want to be coach.
Exactly.
You don't want to be
I am
any of
so
that.
tired of being coach. Exactly.
Yeah.
I am so tired just trying to be coach. I am so tired, and just showing up as me. Just let me relax. Let me just be myself. Let me laugh. And let me tell you something. You find this funny. Practically every evening when I'm done what I do, there's two comedians that I have to watch every night so I could laugh myself to sleep. Because I practically don't person who can allow me to be just me and laugh, without just like roll down on my, on my carpet and just be myself. So it's very difficult for me. So I can't afford, I can't perform, and I am tired. And that was gonna be. I hope I've answered your question, Pastor Chris. But that, because that was gonna be my view on this issue that Abel spoke about, because I have to rewatch it again and again to hear so that it marinates inside. So that's my struggle.
Great point, Coach. Great point. But I want to agree with the Pastor Chris, who has just said that we have just touched here and there, and then now we are going to bring out the whole issue that concerns the men. It's like this is an oasis of wisdom, and not only giving out wisdom, but also sharing some personal difficulties, some personal challenges, personally, and coupling it up with also the aspect of marriage. Now, since we are talking about marriage, I want to say that some of the women are listening to what is going on right now. And there is a silent voice of the men, which this voice does not just come out. It's a silent voice for the men. And they cannot just address it to the woman and say, hey, woman, this is what you have to do. And one of the silent voice that comes out from the men is going to the women. And I know that a lot of women are listening. It's a very good silent voice. It's a voice that says, I'm going to bring it in a two-way. Number one, my wife, I know that I am weak. I know that I have some faults. I know that I am not perfect. I know that there are some things that are not okay in my life, but let them not be used as a tool to look at me as to downgrade me, to disrespect me. Whether I have money or I don't have money, you should not look down on me. Just look at me and treat me like a man. I want to say that, unfortunately, if you see a man watching TV and he has not paid for that TV that he's watching, he has not paid the bill, he has not paid for electricity, he has not paid for water, he has not even paid for rentals, but he's seated down and is watching TV, there is something wrong with that man. And that thing which is wrong with that man, it is something that, sorry to say this, it is something that probably a woman did not nurture that thing very well. The growing up of this man, the mother did not build the man up. And now this man goes to get married. The woman that he has gotten married to has brought a nail to nail it on the coffin and finish the man completely. And the man now is in the house and is feeling that empty. So there is that weakness that is already there. There is that imperfection that is already in the man, and now there is something that he's supposed to get from the marriage, but is not getting it. The other point is, my wife, I know the only thing that I can do is trust me and believe me. This is the only thing that I want. If you can only trust me and believe me, as a man, I feel that I have gotten the whole world. If a woman would just say, I know coach steady, no matter how difficult the situation is, I know he can handle this. I know he can come up with a solution. I know he can provide an answer. I tell you, Coach Steady would love to conquer the whole world and to bring it down, because there is a woman that believes in that man. What do they say? Behind every successful man, there is a woman behind. So men are made. They are there. But one thing that we have to know is that sometimes as men, we need also to encourage ourselves in the Lord. There are certain things that are just beyond us, and we just have to tell ourselves to say, if this cannot be done, I have to do it. Lastly, Coach, there is a silent voice in the life of the men, and this silent voice is that if only my wife can treat my immediate family with respect and honor, my family can just go far. If my wife can just call my mother and call her mom and provide and become just an inspiration to her, and think this is the best thing that I can get. If only my wife can treat my sisters, not as enemies, but just as friends, and they grow up together, I can fight for my marriage. I can fight for my society. I can fight. So we need men that can respect women, that can respect young women, and that can look at them and say, this is my sister, this is my mother. And the same culture is developed also in the young women, then we know that we have a great future. If these things are not coming out, I'm telling you that we have a cycle, a problem that is coming today and tomorrow, today and tomorrow. The same problems. Stimverana na mai, stimverana na tat. Let the young lady be surprised by its steady coach sitting down with Wapongoshi, and they are talking business and they are sharing ideas. But these things are not. The Wapongoshi is Wapongoshi, who is an enemy. Let the woman get surprised to say, you guys are friends, you guys can talk, you guys can share ideas. Let the man in the house look at steady and say, nasanga Wapongoshi, I want to let you share my ideas. I let wala family kuntanshi. You see, when you have this, it's something that we know. There are fathers that are crying for sons-in-law. Do we have them? Do we have these sons-in-law that are going to say, Daddy, count on me, rely on me, I'm there for you, I'm there to superhead and see that this family goes forward?
Enough.
If we can have this...
Man, gone deep.
Man, this man. Pastor Chris Greatness. Man.
Yes, sir.
Man, I'm weak. You see, Pastor Chris said it, that this conversation, look, everyone that is watching, thank you for joining in, but we'll leave here when we get tired tonight, because we came for therapy, because the 5 of us in this room is enough. This is enough therapy. You know, whoever gets tired jumps out. I want to come back to Abel and Sanderson. Now, I'm going to ask this question, and I think maybe it will help me heal my trauma. It will help me move on with my life. I don't know. There's a bit of echo. Pastor Chris, is it?
Oh, it was me.
Okay. So maybe it will help me move on with my life, because I love what Pastor Greatness said. One of my prayer is to marry into a family where I can connect with my in-laws and everybody in the circle. I don't want to have outlaws. I don't want to have any of those. Now, Abel and Sanderson, I want you to touch on this thing. I know I asked you this question, Abel, but I think you went round about it, but I'm bringing it back. I want us to conclude tonight. Is there a possibility for us as men to get back to a woman we can be vulnerable with enough? We can be naked and not ashamed. I can get on your laps and cry. Is there a possibility, or we should forget about it? Are you saying Jesus is the only one we can depend on? Because here's my picture. Here's my picture, and I've had the picture, because I get so many things wherever I go. Coach Steady, you've helped my life with this, but I want to come back to a wife I can cry. I want to come back to a wife and say, hey, boo, things ain't going right. Hey, you know, this is what I just want to stay down and just break down. That's what I think. Do you think I'm overambitious? Do you think I'm asking for too much? Do you think, are you going to direct me to Jesus as the only one who can fix that part of my life? You know, I think for myself, I told myself today I'm being vulnerable. This is my therapy session. So is there, because I know I asked Abel, I know you answered it, but you went, is there a possibility I can find a wife that I can be naked and not ashamed. I can cry, I can weep, and she'll still look at me as Superman. Is that a possibility? And then Pastor Chris will join in, and then Pastor Chris Greatness will come in. So Sanderson and Abel, you guys can take it. Please help a brother out.
I don't know. My older brother, do you want to take it first? Or?
You can go, bro. It sounds like you had started already.
What I'm gonna say is something I don't normally say. I never say this in front of women
We
because
say
I
it
don't
when we're
think I ever
eating
want.
chicken.
Yeah, yeah. Because I say when I'm talking with men for them to have an understanding. Um, I feel it would always be a great biblical challenge. It would always be a great people to have the discussion. But one of the key things that I remember when I was in Bible school, my one of my lecturers would always use a word called precedent, and I always use this word, precedent. And he says when you see something sometimes in Scripture, it kind of gives you a template of what to expect going forward. And one of the key things about men and women and in the book of Genesis that we find is in Genesis chapter 3, when God is cursing man and woman, he says to the woman, he said to her, I'll greatly multiply your pain in childbirth. In pain you'll give birth to children, yet your desire and longing will be to your husband, and he will rule with authority over you and be responsible for you. In Genesis, the only other time you see God use that word desire in that exact same context is in Genesis chapter 4, verse 6, when God is talking to Cain. And God said to Cain, he says, listen, he says, I see sin and it desires to have you, but you should rule over it. This is something that people don't want to have a discussion with, and this is what I keep going back as the problem. The problem oftentimes that comes from the lack of understanding of what Jesus needs to change in the woman when she comes to God, and what Jesus needs to change when a man comes to God, is that we must understand what we're burdened with. That desire is not a desire for good. It is a desire to possess. It is that desire. Often, why I'm even telling you this study says that you have much. So the pursuit of one who's coming for you is seeing what you have and knowing that once they step into Mrs. Divine, they have possession over you and what you have. It is why a girl could be in college and say, I don't date broke guys, because to her, if she has a man and possesses a man of wealth, she's automatically wealthy. If I possess a man of good looking, I am perceived as successful. And this is why you're chased after, or when you have something, you are pursued. You find some of these Hollywood guys, it's not even the guy is handsome, but he's got some beautiful woman next to him, because she understands the stature that he has attained. Once I possess it, it is mine. I am that. But then the thing that you often conflict of is she wants to be first. And I remember when I went to looking for this kind of information, when man of God told me about it, is because I sat in a room with politicians and businessmen and different people. And when they were talking about their lives, you could see men have different things going on in their lives, whether work or how their families and different things. But when they were all, I remember one point, they were all talking about their wives, and it sounded like everyone was married to the same woman. And I had to narrow down what was the main issue, the main thing. And it seemed like even though she might have found this man working, but if at some point she didn't feel like she had power over the work, then that work became a problem. She would no longer honor that work. And so oftentimes is even when I wrote Mwamuna Samarira, many women say, oh, you'll thank God men will be open to us finally. Men will be open to us finally. I said, but that is the biggest reason why find when I talk to men why they close up is when they finally did open up. She took that and says, "Oh, this is my chance to possess this man." And when he tries to move away, I can use this as a thing
Wow.
to keep him in check. If you look at the book, even in the story of Esther, why was Vashti removed from her position? She became comfortable. She responded to the king in the way that even he didn't have anything to say. It was the princess that had to be like, "Hey, listen, this woman is she's of high stature. She's perceived herself of high stature, not because of anything, but because of who you are as the king, and because she has possessed you. Now, but imagine all other women. This will go down into the kingdom." And I always say that the thing about Esther is that she had to restore that position that king had, that insecurity that he had, that way he had been shamed. Esther had to lift him up.
Wow.
And Steady, I really can't guarantee to you that you'll find there's great women out there. There's great women. I honestly tell you, there's great women out there you can be weak with. But I feel the biggest problem is there's many women out there who feel they are entitled to a great man without working towards it.
Come
Without
on!
Word up,
understanding
bro.
what
Word
it
up.
needs to get
Come
there.
on. That's right.
Others,
Come on, somebody.
there's an entitlement.
Hmm.
There is an entitlement. There's a sense of I deserve to be with a good. I deserve, even if I'm not working on myself, somehow some good, rich-looking guy somewhere. What you know, we've done work with prostitutes on the street, and the fantasy of every single one of them is some rich guy is gonna come one day and he's gonna pick me off the street because he's just fallen in love with me.
Ain't gonna marry
Just
me.
exactly where I am.
I'm gonna be a great wife.
Every single one of them. I know I've got the qualities. I can look after. That's the thing. It's that it's looking after man is such a simple thing. I can look after him. It's such a simple thing.
Mm.
But that thing, when men finally get to themselves, and I know and when men finally get to themselves, and we start having these discussions, you realize that the person I'm with, I cannot be weak with. The person you find yourself back at the
And that's
position
painful,
that
man.
Xerxes was when
That's painful.
when he brought that to information to the princess. Look at what this woman has said. He was dumbfounded. He was baffled. He didn't have anything to say. And that is where many of us are, and it's a burning thing. Whenever I read that scripture, whenever I go back to Genesis, you find so many guys that they'll question themselves. Maybe is it my work? Is it my where she'll insult your work, but then tomorrow she'll ask you to pay for her hair. She'll insult you. You know what I'm saying? She has where she will have, unless she has an idea steady of how you have to get that bread and butter, how you have to go about to create the lifestyle. You will find someone who automatically feels they're entitled to your wealth simply because of who they are now in your life. They're entitled to your secret simply because by automatic positioning. And that's why I find is extremely dangerous for men, great men. But at the same time, it could be fulfilling when you have the right person. Because then you don't have
Greatness,
to,
you have some oil. We need to ordain this man as a prophet
yeah,
tonight.
no, I mean, that's like I have this. This stuff burns. This stuff burns because
we need a drum of oil and dip him.
I have the.
There's a prophet among us.
No,
we need to take him. We need to take him on. This is a singles pastor.
I honestly tell you, because I just love having real conversation. I looked for these conversations amongst church peers and friends.
Yeah.
And everyone you'd ask, "Hey man, how's your no, marriage is great, marriage is beautiful, it's blessed." And then the next thing you hear, I'm getting a divorce or something. Then you say, but my guy, we were just talking.
Hey,
You told me marriage is bliss, but then when you go to guys who don't go to church, they'll be like, ah, boy, chifo, boy, shan shan. And they're also open to advice because they're so open with their flaws that you can be able to say, hey, boy, I think Papa, you have. But then the thing is, when everyone is telling you, no, my marriage is blessed, we are blessed, the family is well, I don't understand. Maybe as well because you understand that you have more to lose in the church if you expose a sign of weakness or a way of pain. You feel like you have more to lose. Then therefore you can't say. So you just want to tell everybody that you're blessed because it feels, and then the pressure as well. It feels like if your home is not well, maybe you're not praying hard enough, or maybe you're not doing something well enough. But I can honestly tell you, this thing of possession and power is a very dangerous thing. And I feel that's one of the reasons why a lot of women run to prophets, because they want to tap into God's power. God's power. Oh, God is the ultimate power. You look at even newspapers. A lot of the things, how to keep a lost lover, what those things mostly, unfortunately, yes, some men might use them, but they appeal a lot to women because everything is saying, how do you possess a man? How do you make him stay? How do you make him, in a long term? The things that many men will chase after, those, enhancing drugs, those are very, you know what I'm saying? They rarely have something of how to keep you in one place. But it's often that how to possess, how to control, how to keep. And the problem is that as long as that issue, I feel, is not addressed, that men feel like and you begin, and many times in your work, you find your work becomes your identity. And when that is attacked, and now I won't even get into the issue of kids being used as weapons. Oh my gosh, that's just a whole nother story altogether. But those are weaknesses as well. Is can you be weak? You find your kids are being used as weapons, are weaponized. That's your weakness as well. Or you find your work. That could be a weakness as well, because that's where your strength sometimes comes from. Now, even you add work, it's a whole nother thing. And unless it's come to be fully understood, um, where she really has an understanding of who she is in Christ, and you as a man also have an understanding of who you are in Christ, which is I think a process where we're all learning and walking towards in our lives. Every time we think we know much, we realize how much we don't know. Every time we think we're strong, then we discover how weak we are. It is a journey. But until that is discovered, I can honestly tell you, I can neither guarantee you the most happy marriage of your life, but I can honestly tell you that at least you know what you have, we must be prepared for. Yeah.
I don't know who to call coach now. Because I have now heard from another coach.
Wow, wow, wow.
I, I only know Ebo as Ebo the musician, but now I'm getting Ebo the coach in terms of
I know.
marriage.
No, don't even call me. Steady has a lot more grounding than I do. I have much work to do.
You know the role that coach is playing. Coach is playing the role of a wise person who wants, first of all, to hear from the rest before he puts on his own. But frankly speaking, coach, I love your humility and I love your humbleness, and the way also Ebo has come out, and this is a true talk. This is a genuine talk of the men, where we are saying there are things out there that can paint you as you, and also there is a life that you have to live, you as coach, and also there is the marriage life that you have. So he has given you everything that you can get on, and to me there is nothing like painted thing. He has brought everything on the platform, and I think, to me, this is a best session that we have had, the best men's session that we have had.
I totally agree with you, Pastor Greatness, because I'll tell you one thing. One way I know that there's God in this conversation is because I've been thinking throughout the day that before we start, that I'll put a disclaimer that each one of us need to just come and be transparent today. But I forgot to put that disclaimer. But one way or the other, you notice that this has been a different conversation from all the conversations we've had on this platform. Because today, all of us came showing up as us. No titles. We didn't come to teach. We didn't come to preach. We just came to just pour out and release what is in our heart. And that's the only proof for me that there's God on this conversation, because I forgot to give my disclaimer. And I am glad God made me forget, because then you will know that this has been a real conversation that we are really, really having. And Abel, you you just don't know what you just don't know what you did today. And to be honest, Pastor Chris, I just showed up to really listen. Like, I don't even have any nuggets. I came for myself today. I came to get mines. Honestly speaking, I just came to get mine. And because I came like that, God just saved me exactly what I needed to hear. Sanderson.
Yeah, I'm really just so grateful, guys. Just the authenticity. I think that's something that oftentimes is lacking, just to be real. I think for me, that's one of the things that I really love, just to keep stuff real, because there's so much superficial. I mean, you can't really tell today who is really real and what is real on a person, especially women. There's a lot of the hair, the nails, there's a lot of things that we just kind of cover. We cover up our weaknesses. I mean, we apply perfume, but we still smell, and we wash, we still, but can we be real? Okay. And for me, this has been my cry to say, look, let's be authentic. Okay. It doesn't matter how sweet perfume you might put on, you still got to deal with stuff in the toilet that smells really bad. Doesn't matter when you come out smelling all good, you're actually full of that stuff because you carry it as long as you eat and you're alive. Okay. So let's come down off the high horses and really be able to. God gave me a word in 2015 to live and love from the heart. And that was struck me, and it came from a place where I was just seeking the Lord and looking at the different dynamics of relationship. Now, see, we look at technology. We're able to talk and see each other in the spirit right now, in this image, and we're able to talk. We've taken people to the moon and beyond, but we've not learned how to live one with the other, how to relate one with the other. And when you look at the dynamics that surround that, coming from different backgrounds, coming from different experiences, and different traumas, and here are two people that are going to meet together. And their desire, really, nobody, when you're planning on getting married, or nobody's thinking of divorce. Nobody's thinking of, I'm going to fight with you. We always hope for the best. We envision the best. We envision a great marriage, a great relationship. We're going to have children. We're going to thrive, and we're going to live. Nobody gets to the altar and say, you know what, I'm going to divorce you the moment that I marry you. I'm going to make sure we have a miserable marriage or miserable relationship. Nobody does that. Everybody hopes and desires and has this picture of this great relationship. But, like what Abel said and what Pastor Chris said, it's work. And I think that's something that is missing. We think a relationship is just going to automatically happen. Mostly are willing to enjoy the marriage and what I anticipate, but not willing to put in the time. I was talking to somebody, my wife is growing a garden behind. And you got to water that garden every single day. Well, most times we're not taught how to water because there's excuses. Oh, no, I don't want to water. I'm tired. Well, the garden is not going to water itself. But again, coming from the different backgrounds where we're coming from, different brokenness, one is healed, one is not healed. And you think the two are going to work together in agreement. One is whole, one is not whole, and you think that two can work together without agreement? Because the Bible says two cannot work together unless they agree. So the aspect of entitlement, like how Abel put it, is so critical, because each one, a girl, dreams of this great wedding and great life. And the guy has his own dream that they have. But really, when we look at the practicality of it, to a large extent, we've not been taught how to live, how to relate, how to be vulnerable. You look at our background and things that we've gone through, it leaves much to be desired. And I really think when we look at the word of God, and when you look at what relationship is, it's not just a word. Okay, so what are we, or what do we need to be able to relate on? Okay, because we are two different people. My wife and I are very different people, but we are in a relationship. Well, what relationship is that? What are we relating on? Okay, so it's like two circles that are intertwined. You look at sets. As individuals, we have different lives, different backgrounds, different experiences, different expectations, a different way of how we look at things, different personalities. But at the same time, when it comes to relationship, there has to be that intersection, that thing that holds us together. What are those things? When we're talking about marriage and relationship, we're not thinking about those things. And I think for me, we really have to go back to the basics, because each one has a way of how they look at how a relationship should be. And so these two people meet together, that coming from different experiences, different backgrounds, different expectation. There's already a crisis of expectation. Worse off, you don't even know how to handle conflicts. We're not taught. So if there's anything that you hit, you butt head, and really drawing from what Abel said, the aspect of power, the aspect of control. I don't know if your brothers have heard of a charm in Mukuni, outside Livingston. It's called Karakara Uze. It means if they put it on you, the women put it on you, you can go to your wife, but you gotta come back. So you can go for a little bit, you gotta come back. You gotta come back. And I have seen a man leave his home and go and stay in a little house outside the normal compounds, leave his 3-4 bedroomed house with air conditioned, go to a little house and be with a girlfriend there, because there's this medicine or charms that they put on him to possess him, to control him. But we've got to be able to ask ourselves, gentlemen, brothers, because life is real, okay? And life does not happen by chance. Have we been taught how to live? Have we been taught how to relate? Have we been taught how to be honest? Have we been taught how to be vulnerable? I mean, when we look at Adam and Eve, just when they broke God's commandment, they hid, they covered their nakedness, they put on the walls to be able to protect themselves. They lied, they blamed each other. That's the kind of thing that we see. And so for me, and I've had a vast experience when I look at the journey that the Lord has taken me towards relationship. It's been like, with other people, with my wife, I've learned a lot. And I've cried a lot in my marriage. I've learned a lot, I've cried a lot, I've grown a lot. And it's like really, like I think it was Abel, I don't know who it was. Some of the greatest pain that comes from people that are really close to us.
Yeah.
But how do we navigate and grow through that?
Yeah,
only when we are vulnerable. Only when we are vulnerable, brothers. I mean, there's been countless times that I've cried and said, Lord, what is this? Like what is going on? Like I expect this from somebody else, but not from somebody that is close to me. And that is like you're expecting a hug and you get a slap. It's like, whoa, what has happened? And then you can't even see stars. And then you are dizzy, and then you fall, and then you can't even remember, where are you? Like, what happened?
Yeah, true. That's very true. So how do we now, we're going to wind up in the next, so at 1940, 10 minutes. So we have 9 minutes to wind up. But before we wind up, I have a few questions that people have put across. So if you have a question, this is the best time to type it. But there's a question, Pastor Chris, that you have to, answer, and then also share what is on your heart. It says, what do you do when you realize you are with the wrong partner and you already said the I do? So if you have a question, please, everybody share, and please, I want to see you guys share this conversation. If you're getting the help that you need, please share this. And I can see your comment. I'm putting them on the screen, and that's a question that we have to deal with before we go in 10 minutes. So if you have any question, type it now and then just leave it there. And I know I see your comment. Somebody says, so humbling to learn from these honest conversations. Appreciate it. And that's what sometimes we just need to mention this. This is what we all sometimes need from our women. Pastor Chris, Sanderson, Abel, is just an opportunity for you to hear without saying the vice versa game. Because no man likes a woman. Every time you say, oh, this is what I have, and then she's going to say vice versa. You as a man as well, this is what you did. Sometime now, there's a lady who tagged me in a comment, Abel, before I got on set right now. She says, Coach, as you go online, there's a gentleman, I don't know who, I think he's a public figure. He typed a question for the men. You should have seen women jump in and battle for that question. And there's a woman who wrote on that. I'm gonna read what this woman wrote. Yeah, so the man asked the question. He says, I think it's Tokozani, he must be South African. He says, a question for men, what's hurting you deep inside? And then someone tagged me that, Coach, come and read the comments. But I was very, this question was directed to the men, but the women took over.
Like they always do.
Now, exactly. Now, there's nothing complicated. You don't need to be a degree holder to understand this question.
Yeah.
He specifically put it across for the men.
Mm-hmm.
He put it across for the men, but it was a battle for the women. And one woman wrote, and I'm saying this because of what is it Mandona said. She says, so humbling to learn from these honest conversation. She didn't say, oh, but men do this, but men this, but men this, but men this. She just says, I am humbled to sit and learn from the men. Now, I am going to read one lady who commented. She says, to my ladies, let's give guys platform. Men need to open up as well. Tika said, men, let's respect them and pass a comment, but let's not make these about us. I hope I didn't offend anyone. So to hear that comment of a woman who's acknowledging and receiving, because a conversation for men turned into a battlefield for women wanting to answer. Now, I just don't even see any sense in the fact that a question is directed to men, as you, a woman, you are jumping on it and you are mad about it and you want to answer something directed to men. So Pastor Chris, take it over from that end.
Thank you so much, Coach.
And then we'll close. Yeah.
I know I'm closing and I need to throw out 3 points. The first point was related to your question to say, can I find somebody that I can pour my heart to?
I'm glad you remember.
Yes,
I'm glad you didn't forget. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm so happy with what Ebo has said and what Samson has put across. And I just want to marry the 2 points that have come out. You see, the key word that we need to deal with there is before Adam and Eve sinned, the Bible says they were naked and they were not ashamed. Now, that word naked, it does not just mean that they were physically naked, but it simply means transparency, openness with one another. So before you go into marriage, before you say I do, the first thing that you need is that openness, that transparency. And that's where there is a problem, because there is a lot of pretense at that stage. There is a lot of pretending. I want to be good to coach, steady. I don't want to bring out my weakness. I don't want to bring my flaws. I want Coach Steady to see the perfection of me. And this is where we usually make, even when we are going out, we want to go out looking, smelling good, looking good, and all kinds of things that are there. So the key issue here is let's be as open as possible, and let's try to be transparency, and let's try to maintain our low profile, that who we are, not try to put ourselves where we are not. I think that is a danger, and it will cost you in your marriage. These are the statements that comes and says, Zira, I didn't know. These are the statements because you were hiding certain things, and certain things must just come out. Then the second question that is coming out is, what do you do when you realize you are with a wrong partner and you already said, I do? Now, this question is a two-way question. It's a two-way question. It may not be that's the way it is, but I'm looking at it in a two-way. It's like you are two people around you and you wanted to make a choice, and you have made a choice to say, I'll go with this guy. And out of your choice, you have realized that this choice that you have made, the other guy where he has gone, things are okay. And now you are regretting to say, have I made a wrong choice by marrying this guy? Because we are having problem in our own marriage. Now, the point that you need to listen is this. There is no marriage that is perfect. Every marriage that you see that seems to be perfect, somebody has been doing the work. There is a work that everyone, if you have made that mistake, that simply means start working on the marriage that you are in right now. Stop focusing on the wrong steps that you have already tell you to start thinking, oh, that guy probably was okay. And this is where you find odd kind of relationship, they easily crop up because you still feel this is the guy that I should have married to. I married to a wrong person. Work on your marriage. No matter how bad it may look right now, make a decision to work on that marriage so that the best can come out of your own marriage. The other question that they might ask is that, is this marriage that I am in, is it the will of God for me to get married to this person? You see, this is where now we begin to put in God. God is not the one that made the choice. You are the one that made that choice. And God has rightly said, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. And also the Bible says, a faithful man who will ye find. So the finding is not only on the man or it's not only on the woman. It's on both sides. A faithful man who will you find. So the woman must find a faithful man. He who finds a wife finds a good favor. A man also must find. So the finding is up to you. But the big issue that is here is, if you have made a decision, stick to that. That's why God also say, I have given you this day, blessing and curses. Choose. He has given you the power to make a choice. You choose life. So you have chosen. And what you have chosen, stick with it. Work with it. Start improving on it. Don't look at it and say, oh, this is the imperfect thing or the imperfect decision that I've ever made in my own marriage. Don't look at that. Look at that man as a good man and try to work. It's also to the men. Men are also saying, if I didn't marry this wife, I could have been successful. I could have been doing better. I could have been achieving a lot of things. But because of this marriage, it has tied a lot of things. It's true. A lot of people's destiny have been tied because of marriage. But now that you are having a program like this one, which is trying to tell you that all of us here, we are working on our own marriages. There is no marriage that is perfect. Every one of us, the moment you enter into marriage, that marriage can never be perfect because you are imperfect. Your wife, she's not perfect. And it's two imperfect people who are relying on the perfect God so that the imperfection can come out and the perfect God can polish up your marriage. So focus on building your own marriage. I think that's the only thing that you can do. Stop thinking that you have made the wrong choice, but just start working on your marriage. To me, this is my take, coach. Don't regret, but just make a decision to say, no matter what, let's try to make this marriage work. We have made a mistake, yes, but let's not dwell, let's not think, let's not focus on the mistake. Now, Pastor, there is an issue of violence. There is an issue of insult. There is an issue that is, should I endure? Should I stay in this same marriage? That's where this is 3 stages should not pass. The moment these 3 stages are weakened in your marriage, the marriage will totally be weak. You see, there are 3 things that before you go into marriage that are going to help you to concretize your marriage. Number 1, there must be the issue of the government. That is civil. That is, you make your marriage registered. Number 2, family. You make sure that before you come together, let families come together and let them support your marriage and let them bless you. Number 3, church. The church must help you to go through the counseling. When you have passed through these 3 stages, you have concretized your marriage. You have put a solid foundation, which is going to help you. Now, the unfortunate thing is that a lot of marriages, they have not gone through these 3 stages, and hence the foundation is shaking. And no wonder we are having a lot of marriages that are cracking because the foundation has not been built up so strongly. To me, that's my take, Coach.
Awesome. That's great, Pastor Chris. Your closing remarks, Sanderson and Abel, as we're winding up on this amazing show.
I actually had a question about, I think I wanted to post this on social, but just like before I do my closing remark, is should a man stay if he's in a physically abusive relationship? I know oftentimes there's a zero tolerance when it comes to women, but the question is,
I only hope we are not losing him, because that's a very important question.
Yeah. So I think some men ask that question. You know you can't hit back, but you know that the person that you're with is violent. What should men do in that situation?
Wow. Coach, should we reserve
and I
that
don't want to be the
question?
one to answer this, but yeah.
We are going into 16 days.
By the way,
is it 16 weeks of activism or what? That's where we are going. But that's a valid question. That's a very serious question, Ebo. And
by the way, in fact, I'm actually trying to avoid the conversation because said, in fact, in my mind, I was saying we need to do a topic called "Help I'm Married to the Wrong Person." My view is maybe a little bit different from what Pastor Chris said, but I was trying to avoid because we said 10 minutes and we've done 14 minutes. But my view on there's a bit of a difference. But at the same time, I respect where Pastor Chris is coming from. But my view is practically different on that issue. But I wanted to I wanted us to do another conversation called "Help I'm Married to the Wrong Person." So so I don't want to be tempted because I have a lot to download. But Abel's question, Pastor. Anybody who wants to take it? I don't want to go because I have a lot to say, so I don't even want to go there. So maybe we'll save it for that. But if you want to touch on it quickly as we wind up, please feel free.
I don't want to touch on it, but I feel that should carry us the next program that is going to come, because you have another topic and Ebo has raised a question which is very valid question. When it comes to abusive, it's a serious matter. I'm in Eastern Province, and I want to let you know this. As we are talking right now, there have been 51 incidences that are related with the suicide, and all these are marriage related. 51, and 8 are involving women.
Sorry, gents, I have to exit. Just
Okay.
Have a good evening.
Thanks, Abel.
All right.
Appreciate it, man.
Okay. Yeah. So
Thanks,
we are talking of 51 cases, suicide cases that are marital related. And as we are talking right now, there is just another one which has just happened. This man just killed the wife and killed himself. So that number has come to 53. So it's something that is involving life and death. So it's something that we should not just take lightly, just because it's marriage and then we say, okay, go ahead. No, there is death that is involved. People are dying, and nobody plans to go into marriage to go and commit suicide or to go and be killed in marriage. We are expecting that as I'm entering into marriage, I'm going to be loved, I'm going to be comforted, I'm going to be taken care of. I'm going to find a helper who is going to help me to fulfill the purpose and fulfill my goals that God has given to me. But unfortunately, it has become a death center, a center where people are dying. And we can't just allow it to say, okay, coach, just because we know that you are going to die in this, and then we say, just continue with it. I mean, that we are contributing to the death that is occurring right now, because we know if we leave the two of you sleeping in the same house together with the kind of anger that is coming out, we can't allow it. And it's important to understand that there are things that we can encourage you to say, go ahead with these things. And there are things that we can say, no. This, we must put a stop on this one before we lose lives.
Awesome. That's good. Thank you, Pastor Chris. I'm looking forward to our next conversation. But Sanders, on your last words as we wind up.
Yeah, I think it's been
I'm trying to bring in a video that I want to show as we are going. Yeah.
It's been a great conversation, guys, and just thumbs up to everybody. I think it's a much needed program, not just program, but conversations. I think, even just the question that Abel asked earlier on, I think there's a lot of issues that are gray areas that we do need to be able to address, to be able, especially for me, I really look at the next generation, because we're setting a precedent. Whatever it is that we do, whatever it is that we allow to happen is setting a precedent for the next generation, and so we need to be able to start having these conversations, and be able to look at the solutions. I mean, we always hear of women that suffer from violence, but there's men that also are in very difficult and abusive relationships. So what happens to them? But like what Pastor Chris said, there's a danger that is there to be able to stay in a relationship where tomorrow you can wake up and just stab your friend and stab yourself. What's the benefit in that? You just orphan your children overnight because you were told, no, just stay in this place, it's okay, you work it out. I think there is a need for us to be able to really break it down, because we were not taught how to work things out. So what happens when you have two divergent views and none of you is budging? Okay, so I think for me, I really appreciate this conversation, and I'm looking forward for the next program that we can be able to really continue to be vulnerable and just really bring out solutions, because there's ways out, there's solutions out there. If you are willing to put in the time, if you're willing to put in the work.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You guys, Pastor Chris, everyone, you guys have been amazing. I don't even know what to say, but I'm looking forward to the next conversation, and to all of you that stayed here. And this is what Abel was saying. Some of these women want to get married, but they will not even sit and listen to a program like this, Pastor Chris. They will not listen to this wisdom. They are out there painting themselves, trying to go out, and they want to marry a man like Coach. Pastor Chris, when you're at the mountain, bind those women. I do not want them in my life. Bind them when you're on the mountain. Pata has got the most beautiful mountains out there, because this is what Abel also said. A lot of these women are so entitled. They will go to buy expensive hair, they will do expensive shoes, and they want to come to church and say, Pastor Chris, lay hand on me, I want to marry a man of God. But you there's no sense in your head. These are the things we've been teaching. How do you live with a man? How do you live with a man? This frustrates me a lot. This just takes me out. A lot of these women, just because they've got thighs, legs, and boobs, they say I am good. I'm already good for, you know, marriage. That doesn't change. So I want to share this video I posted on my page, so that before we close, I want us to listen to this woman.
Got to be held at such a high standard. He's always got to be the one to check on everybody. Please take the time out. Take the time out to unlearn the fact that a man is always got to be held as. Take the time out to unlearn to be. As a woman, that's my
It's
job.
breaking.
That's one thing my men ain't never got to worry about. Baby, how was your day? We don't want to talk about how was your day? How you feeling today? How your mental? How was your spiritual? Like, are you good? You know what I'm saying? Is something bothering you? Okay, cool, baby. Go on in there and take you a shower, cleanse yourself. Come out. I got you. I'm gonna rub your feet, give you a massage, whatever it is you need. But I need you to relax. Today is about you, and it ain't just gonna be no special day. I need my man to all your burdens down. I want you to exude some vulnerability with me. I need you to show me that you my gentle justice. But baby, I need you to know that I got you. Do you understand?
I know the internet was tripping on us. She's practically saying, hey, men have feelings.
Wow.
That's
Like
awesome.
coach has left us.
What? Coach has left us.
Yeah. Yeah. imagine you're invited in the house and you are the host has left you alone.
The host,
were
the owner of the house has left.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Let's have a party. Let's party.
Oh, so thank you so much. The internet has just been tripping, but
Yeah.
thank you so much. It's been amazing. I don't want to say much, but good night and God bless you.
Bless you. Take care. Thank you so much, Coach. Take care, everybody.